Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of April 13th, 2025. First up, an announcement. The Organization of Professional Astrology, also known as OPA, is having a retreat in Park City, Utah from October 15th through 19th. We went there last year and it was an amazing facility in a beautiful location. And we're going back again. And I am going to be a faculty member teaching 3 days about predictive astrology. So if you'd like to learn how to build a forecast and anticipate upcoming energies for yourself or your clients, this is a great opportunity for you to join me in this amazing location and to be amongst a community of astrology enthusiasts and professionals. So you can go to the link in the show notes or opaastrology.org in order to register. Now, there are only 8 spots, so if you want to join, I suggest you sign up soon. Next, let's take a look back at astrology in action. The biggest story of last week was that under a waxing crescent moon at 27 degrees of Taurus, which was conjunct the fixed star Algol, which is at 26 degrees of Taurus, known as the beheading star or the wife of the demon, and every culture has given it negative connotations, and it is associated with catastrophes when it is activated. The day after that, we had the President of the United States issue what they're calling reciprocal tariffs against the whole world. It led to a stock market crash, which peaked, they're calling the day Mercury went direct on April 7th, Orange Monday. It's the first time that we have had a stock market collapse that was not due to outside forces that were a black swan event, such as 9/11 or the mortgage crisis or COVID, or usually there is something outside of our control that causes this kind of calamity. This time, if we take a 10,000-foot view of this situation, this is really about the United States Pluto return. The United States has Pluto in the second house of our resources and our values. It's also the Chiron return of the United States. Chiron rules our original wound that we have the opportunity to heal over time. Now, a Pluto return only happens every 248 years, so the United States is in our first one. We are a relatively young country where we had a test about our values, and Pluto was at the last degree of Capricorn. The United States has Pluto at 27 degrees of Capricorn in the second house. And Capricorn rules governments, big businesses, the elderly. And 2 days before the U.S. election in 2024, Mars in the sign of Cancer at 29 degrees, a degree of crisis and decay, was opposite Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So there was this deep-seated feelings of Mars and Cancer. A lot of people acted out of fear of the other because Cancer rules the family or people who we consider our own tribe, and these subconscious fears about the other, which were heavily manipulated by the current president to make people scared and overly driven to take action in order to get people who they perceived as not like us, which was a hit song by Kendrick Lamar, out of the country, despite the fact the candidate was talking nonsense, including about Arnold Palmer's sexual organs, and making love to a microphone was his closing argument to the United States people at one of his rallies, and talking about the dogs and the cats and people of Ohio, the Haitian immigrants eating the dogs and the cats, even though it was disproven as a falsehood, and it was just nonstop nonsense. The nonsense also included that you send your son to school, he comes home a girl. It was just on and on, stoking the culture wars. And people decided to ignore the fact that all the experts said that these tariffs were going to cause big problems to the economy and potentially putting us into recessions by summer. And here we are. The odds of a recession have gone up something like to 60% plus. So anyway, that's enough of that. The big story was that the Trump administration issued these tariffs, and secondly, that the formula that they used to calculate these tariffs are nonsensical, according to experts. They have discussed that. You can go Google it to see why it makes no sense. And the tariffs included tariffs on the herd in McDonald Island that has no inhabitants, just penguins. So that launched 1,000 memes. So the world economy is in a state of crisis because certain people in the Republican Party decided that they knew better than the founders of the country, who decided that they would institute checks and balances to prevent a king from rising. The president is not supposed to have the power of the purse. That's supposed to be with Congress. But this is where we are. So it's a big story about our Pluto return, turning our back on our values, people who wanted power and identified with this singular Leonic individual who wants to be a king. Now, the shadows of Leo energy are pride and ego and overdrive, attention seeking and control and domination. And the president has his ascendant at 29 degrees of Leo. The 29th degree is the degree of crisis and decay. He has literally called himself a king. He thinks he knows better than everyone else. He has these big, grand plans that are very Leonic about world domination and about bending the whole world to his will and bringing manufacturing, which we don't really even want, back to the United States, as we are a service-based economy. We should be bringing back crucial manufacturing like what was being done by the Biden administration, like bringing back some chips that are critical to our infrastructure and whatnot. We don't need, as we've been told by some of these people from this administration, we don't need factories that are in Vietnam making $3 socks to come back to the United States. It's just unfeasible for us to be able to pay the wages necessary for that kind of work to be done. And it's not going to be done by people. It's going to be done by machines at this point in time because of Pluto in Aquarius. We are using technology more and more to do jobs that people used to do. It's a transformation of the collective. I realize I'm on a bit of a rant, so maybe I should stop there. But all of the writing was on the wall for us to see. And Neptune in Pisces, people saw what they wanted to see. They were in a state of illusion, delusion, confusion. And now Neptune has gone into Aries and it's popped the balloon. You drank the Kool-Aid, but now you have a really awful aftertaste in your mouth as you look at your 401k or your stock portfolio and see it going down and down and down. And a big problem we have in the United States is that the man who would be king does not have any Virgo in his chart. When you pair the Leo vision with the Virgo energy, which is practical and grounded and has all the details about how to enact a policy that you want to bring to form, it can be a beautiful thing. But these tariffs were launched without any commitments of companies bringing factories to the United States or all of the grounded details that were necessary before getting going. So I'll stop there. But that's the big story, is about the tariffs. And we can see the timing of the event. Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, they're both conjunct Saturn in Pisces. So there is this like squeezing down of Venus, money, and Mercury, commerce, by Saturn, which constricts things. And the North Node has to do with groups and organizations. These tariffs were launched across the whole world, countries across the whole world, including those that aren't even inhabited by human beings, and one that's only inhabited by a U.S. military base, which should not be paying tariffs. So it's a big deal. It's causing a lot of upheaval and crisis and has the potential to completely remake the world order and potentially even send the United States and other nations into not just a recession, but potentially a depression. So it's a really big deal. The Birthdate Company makes amazing products, and I am a proud affiliate. I especially love the Birth Date book. It's a fully personalized, beautiful, and unique reading of your birth chart with over 70 pages of detailed horoscope analysis. It is such high quality. I absolutely love it. They also make amazing birth date candles. You can get it for yourself or as a gift for someone else. So check out the store and use my coupon code Celeste10 for a 10% discount. Go to bit.ly/3PW3NFM. You can find that in the link in the show notes. Enjoy. The theme of this week is the cuckoo's nest. And there are three big things I want you to think about as you navigate this week. The first is that Mercury will enter the sign of Aries on April 15th through May 10th. Now, part of this transit is treading old ground that was already gone on during the forward momentum where Mercury went into Aries and got to 9 degrees, where it's stationed direct on March 14th and then retrograded back into Pisces, about 26 degrees, I believe, and now it's entering Aries again. And it's treading over old ground we've been on before until April 26th, which is a big day where Mars in Leo is opposite Pluto in Aquarius. And we'll talk about that more a little bit later. So it's a decision time. Aries is cardinal initiating energy. So you get out of the drenched waters where Mercury can't even think very clearly necessarily, or thinks poetically or lyrically, and with imagination and sometimes delusion in Pisces. And then it goes into Aries where, you get out and you shake off all of that excess water and it evaporates with the fire. Can you get excited about things you've been working on during the retrograde period where you went back over some old things and did some analysis and reevaluation and creative thinking? Yeah, it's decision time. Hopefully, you are feeling excited and enthusiastic about something that you're working on in your individual life. Now, some people may notice that anger and rage is bubbling over with some people. Yesterday was a Libra full moon, and the United States has Libra on the midheaven and ruling the president and the executive branch. I have been predicting that they may have to pull the president down off of that throne, whether it's by the 25th Amendment or impeachment or something, but he is clearly not thinking straight. But anyway, that may be something that's going on as well. But think about what you can say and say it like you mean it with passion. And your gut instincts may be really powerful around this time because Mars is at 29th degree of Cancer, a degree of crisis and decay. So watch out for fighting Mars with your family or people you consider your tribe, so to speak. But Mars going through this point, it's the third time it's hit Mars at 29 Cancer, and that's right before the election where Mars was opposite Pluto. It was at 29 Cancer. So there may be secrets revealed, which happens as Mercury goes back over its old ground about some things that went on back around the election. And with a fire sign, Mercury rules paper like ballots. So we'll see if we hear anything about that. But anyway, think about how you can speak up with courage. You may feel like you want to get ready to make some bold new ideas, setting them off, having great conversations, making quick decisions. That's what this energy may bring. So hopefully you feel this fire. Watch out for being impulsive or rash. But I feel like we've got some new momentum. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that Mars will re-enter the sign of Leo. And Mars is moving fast now. Mars is the planet of action, drive, and assertion. It is finally coming out of the sign of Cancer, the sign of its fall, where it does not like to be because it's so emotionally driven rather than inspired by fire. So Mars is getting a lift up from April 17th through June 17th. It's moving at its regular speed where it stays in the same sign for about 2 months. So prepare for fast action, which is inspired. We're moving from a yin sign to a yang sign. And Mars in Leo, one of the first things it's going to do is it's going to trine Neptune in Aries for the first time. So bringing us some of that creative energy. So people who do things, this could be a great time for writing presentations or doing strategic thinking because, you may get some fantastic ideas, but don't forget the Virgo. Have someone on your team who goes through all the details. What this can be with Leo energy, you can be like, I'm going to plan the most incredible party and be feeling so creative. I'm going to have the wedding of the century. But if you forget to bring the plates for people to put the cake on, there's going to be a lot of disappointment and mess. So just keep it in mind that as you come up with these big ideas, that you need to have some of the groundwork. Now, there's a lot of intensity because as Mars goes into this sign, the first thing it's going to do, it trines Neptune, but then opposes Pluto in Aquarius. So this is explosive energy. And if you're not paying attention to something, it can cause this big kabang because you forgot the paper plates or something like that. Or you go to have a conflict and you don't have your key information or something in your back pocket. Now, people may be also starting to talk out loud if they haven't already. There may have already been some action taken to rein in the president, but if not, I can see people talking about how something needs to be done about the king because he is Neptune, and Neptune rules weakness in Aries. Aries rules the head, including the brain. There's this imagery of having a mental illness being a problem and someone who has a lot of power in taking action. And there's got to be something done by a powerful group, Pluto in Aquarius, in order to gain some control over a single person who is acting in a way that is causing problems for billions around the world. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that Taurus season begins on April 19th through May 20th. Taurus is fixed Earth. And so when the sun transits this sign, there can be a great opportunity to bring some grounding and practical approach to the things you initiated under Aries energy. Now, this is an intense Taurus season because the sun goes into the sign of Taurus and then it immediately squares Mars in Leo on one side and Pluto in Aquarius on the other. So it's forming this intense T-square and fixed signs. Now, the outlet is in Scorpio, which can be, if you get into a battle, Taurus energy can be very stubborn. Someone can feel a need to just completely reinvent something or transform something with this Scorpio energy. Scorpio is an intense sign ruled by Mars. Mars is in Leo. That's where the outlet is. Just be mindful about power struggles that are gotten into because they can be extremely explosive. Now, one of the things that is going on is there was an executive order issued back in January by the administration that there can be an evaluation of whether or not to declare martial law. I don't think that's going to happen with what's going on, or if it does happen, it's going to cause a serious constitutional crisis. But I'm not going to worry about that. I think the biggest thing we have to worry about is that the United States has a president who is saying things that are patently untrue. For instance, he's writing all this stuff on his Truth Social about the price of eggs have gone down 79%. No, they have not. Trillions of dollars are pouring into the country about new factories, this and that. Where's the proof? What companies are doing this? Companies are talking about laying off people and pausing manufacturing. They're not talking about building plants in the United States. He said that the 5 million people who protested on April 5th were paid millions of dollars by George Soros. I think the math added up to $100 trillion or something. He was saying people were being paid to protest. No, they are not. It makes no sense. He is saying things that are illogical and doing things that are illogical. This is the crisis that we're seeing with this T-square. The sun rules the leader, Mars about how they're taking action, Pluto about how it's impacting the collective. Now, in your own life, Earth signs relate to health, wealth. There also can be thoughts about land. How can you bring stability into your life despite all this chaos and confusion going outside of ourselves? Can be a difficult things to do. So what I'm doing is I'm limiting my time to look at the news or whatever is going on, and then I have to just turn it off and focus on the tasks I have at hand. So I'm limiting the input to about a half an hour a day so that I can focus on my work and doing things that are necessary for that. And I think it's really important in our own lives to do that. Otherwise, we can just let ourselves become paralyzed with worry and fear about things we can not control. We really have to surrender to what we can control and what we can't. But people are really going to be under pressure about how their finances are going to be impacted by all of the changes that are going on in the collective based on these tariffs, which have a worldwide impact. So the astrology is impacting people in the day-to-day, and it can help you navigate this difficult time by focusing on what you can change and what you can't, and knowing the difference. The South Node is in the sign of Virgo, so just worrying about things is going to be a drain. The South Node is a drain. The North Node is in Pisces. Surrendering to know the serenity prayer, what you can control and what you can't. If you are embarking on a new journey, experiencing a major life event, feeling stuck, trying to make a difficult decision, or just looking to make positive changes, astrology can provide life-changing insights. There are several ways to work with me. You can come for a 60 or 90-minute astrology consultation depending on your needs. Engage in longer-term cosmic success coaching where we work together on a 3-month basis to help you overcome blocks, improve your life satisfaction, build better relationships, accomplish your career goals, and understand yourself better using the tool of astrology. Or mystic mentoring if you're an aspiring astrologer and want help with chart analysis techniques. Go to astrologybyceleste.com to check out my offerings. If you have any questions, you can email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com. On Sunday, the word of the day is gravitas. I got a lot of songs when I was preparing for this episode, and Jesus Walks With Me is a Kanye West song, and it talks about walking through the shadow of the valley of death, and there's just so much intensity. The collective is somewhat freaking out about all of the change going on. There's storms and things that are happening all over the country that are impacting people and making them deal with some survival topics. I keep seeing things popping up on my Instagram about creating a survival kit in case of a big storm or an earthquake or something like that. So there's just a heaviness in the energy as we start the week. As well as Venus has just gone direct, but it's conjunct Saturn. And Saturn's a heavy, wet blanket, so there's just this heaviness on us right now. Now, this too shall pass. We will get used to what's going on right now and all of these big changes that are happening. We'll find our footing, but right now it feels somewhat heavy. And we start the week with the moon in Libra. The energy of this day is intense because the moon is in Libra and it squares Mars in Cancer. You can feel like your equilibrium is off because Libra is a sign of balance, and then Mars attacks and Cancer rules the stomach. So something could be said that causes some kind of emotional upheaval within you. And then the moon goes into Scorpio at 6:54 a.m. Pacific time, which is fixed water energy. So there can be this really big emotional reaction because the moon is in fall in Scorpio. It doesn't like to be here. What can happen is we can get obsessive over some emotional thought patterns or what have you. And then the moon squares Pluto when it moves into Scorpio. Pluto's at 3 degrees of Aquarius. So that's again suggesting internal upheaval. Now, how this can show up for people is you could be having a conversation with your lover and some kind of truth slips out with Venus direct, and they say something that kind of hits you in the gut. Now, it could be the first time someone says, I love you. And, oh, it makes you really uncomfortable inside. Maybe it's early in the relationship and you're like, do I say this back? Do I da da da? And that can cause you emotional upheaval. Now, the question could also be, will you marry me? And you're not sure yet because maybe you haven't been dating that long and it causes you this internal existential crisis. We're in Aries season, a sign of independence, and maybe you're not sure about what to do. Or they tell you, I'm pregnant, and it's, oh my God, we weren't planning on having another kid or a first kid. And it causes all of this kind of upheaval. Even if you're happy about the news, it can be intense because with Venus conjunct Saturn, there is some kind of, it puts some kind of boundary on you or crisis around relationship topics. Like maybe it's just, oh, you're so thrilled you're having another kid, but you're thinking about the Venus money aspect of things. Now, this could also be your lover says, it really grosses me out when you burp or hawk a loogie on the street. So can you stop doing that? And that makes the person feel, oh my God, so self-conscious and like inner attacking themselves. And that can feel like a hit in the gut where you feel like you're naked and exposed as someone who's burping all the time or hawking loogies all the time. And you're feeling rejected in some way. Saturn can exclude and reject, and your lovers doesn't love everything you do at every moment of the day. So that can be how it shows up internally for a lot of people. If their charts are activated and they have planets between 25 or so of the cardinal signs and 5 or so of the fixed signs, those people likely will be feeling this 1, 2, 3 punch more than others. Now, this on the large scale could be a sudden attack somewhere in the world, and then people are dealing with a life and death situation. The attack would be Mars square the moon. The moon rules the people, and then the moon rules into Scorpio, and people are in a life and death situation, and it's squaring Pluto. Like it could be a hostage situation where people are hiding. A bank is being held hostage. Banks aren't open on Sundays. But anyway, you get the picture. This is like an intense energy. Now, Libra rules the midheaven of the United States, and this can be what people are going through in dealing with what do we do about the president? We've got to talk about it. There is a problem. So this could be his inner circle talking about dealing with, because if he keeps saying things that are patently untrue, make no sense, there's going to be more and more pressure to do something. On Monday, the word of the day is BAYOU. The moon has some hard aspects, but there is a biquintile with Jupiter. Biquintiles are grace notes. They're a soft aspect. A quintile is 72 degrees. A biquintile is 144 degrees. But you can integrate the energies in unique ways. So the moon is in Scorpio. Jupiter is in Gemini. These are two signs that don't talk to each other in any kind of the traditional aspects. But when planets are biquintile, you can find maybe some deep meaning that leads you to some higher universal truth. The deep meaning of Scorpio, the universal truth. Jupiter rules the truth. With Jupiter and Gemini, you get words, Gemini to feelings. Scorpio is a water sign. And the song I was hearing was Blue Bayou by Linda Ronstadt. And the Bayou has elements of the mystery and the unseen. They can be Mercury, shadowy places. And the president's progressed moon right now is in his third house. In the third house rules the mind and the sign of Scorpio, where the moon does not like to be. There's like this decay of the thought processes. this hold on power and control, and it's very subconscious. Hidden emotions are coming to the surface. There's themes of isolation and introspection. They maybe want to put him in a room, in a padded room, and tell him to stop talking. But he's a Gemini with his sun is conjunct the North Node in Uranus. He has a psychological desire to break boundaries and do things his own way and talk and say whatever he wants to say. The North Node is an amplifier. So they can feel like they're in some kind of Mercury, mysterious, unseen world where life and death is an issue. So you may be pondering really deep themes on this day based on conversations you have, thoughts that grow through your mind, what you're reading, what you're seeing, that sort of thing. The spiritual veil is thin when the moon is in Scorpio. On Tuesday, the word of the day is rapture. The Blondie song was in my head. And on this day, the moon enters the sign of Sagittarius at 7:36 p.m. Pacific time. So hopefully you feel a burst of positive fire energy when the moon goes from the deep Mercury waters of Scorpio into the fire of Sagittarius. Sagittarius energy is a great time to move your body. So think about that. This is the day Mercury re-enters the sign of Aries at 11:24 p.m. Pacific time. So Mercury will be at 29 Pisces, which is the toxic waste zone. It's also non-potable water, like the Kool-Aid has reached its expiration date. And there may be some decision that needs to be made. And the Cuckoo's Nest. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a story written by Ken Kesey, which was made into a Oscar-winning movie about a mental hospital and what was going on there. It's a great movie. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it, but that's where I got this from. And the nest is where the cuckoos lives. And the White House is feeling like a cuckoo's nest these days. So something may have already happened. I don't know. But when Mercury goes into Aries, decisions are going to have to be made. Yes, they are. On Wednesday, situation is the word of the day. And I got the song Meeting in the Ladies' Room. I got a meeting in the ladies' room. Uh-oh. Oh, it'll be back real soon. And we have a situation somewhere where some people have to go to a separate room in order to talk about what is going on and figure out how to rein in Sagittarius energy. Is like Sagittarius rules horses, and it can be somewhat lawless and reckless on the shadow side, which is bloviating and knows better than anyone else. The president has a Sagittarius moon conjunct his south node, which is a drain. So this is something to be aware of. His emotional outbursts may be something that people around him are going into a situation room to discuss. And I bring that up because the sun in Aries, and the sun is exalted in this sign, whereas lifted up, has a special seat at the table, which is ready to just start things, sometimes impulsively, and exaltation can bring themes of arrogance. So an overestimation of abilities, and the sun is quincunx the south node in Virgo on this day. The south node is a drain. Somebody may have some great ideas. It may be about a CEO at a company that's very impulsive, or the ideas aren't great, and there's a lack of Virgo planning and precision with the steps-by-step needs that need to be taken. Quincunxes are an adjusting aspect where we move things into new situations where we have to release and let go of something. They're both at 27 degrees. and it shines a light. The sun in Aries is shining a light on the president's Mars, which is at 26 Leo. So it's separating, but applying to his ascendant, which rules his vitality and his identity and how other people are seeing him. And so I really think this has something to do with the situation with what we're doing about the president. And we have a disseminating moon on this day at 12 Sagittarius. The United States ascendant is 12 Sagittarius, and the ascendant rules the people of the nation in mundane astrology, as well as how it's being viewed and things like that at 8:24 p.m. Pacific time. So this is an important disseminating moon for the United States, where the sun is in Aries, the moon is in Sagittarius. What is being shared with the people of the United States as Mercury is conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees on a world point? What communication about somebody's brain, Aries rules the brain, not functioning correctly, is being shared potentially? Or this could be an announcement about, this could all be about the Pope, that he's maybe stepping down because of his health problems. Virgo rules the health, and they're looking to start recruiting a new pope or something like that. But a leader somewhere is potentially exiting stage left. The energy is incredibly volatile, so it could be for a lot of different reasons, and it could be someone who's not even on our radar, just comes out of nowhere. We're still in eclipse season until the Taurus new moon. On Thursday, the word of the day is illusions. And I'm getting high here, the secrets that you keep when you're talking in your sleep, that song. Now, the South Node is in an earth sign. And so we're talking about themes of health, wealth, and land. And Mercury rules the South Node in Virgo. And at the end of the day, yesterday, it was conjunct Neptune. So is there a fire somewhere that's making a lot of news and that we're talking about because Mercury communicates and Aries is a fire sign? This is the first time a planet is conjunct Neptune now that it's moved into Aries. So merging these two energies. And what comes to your conscious mind about, you may get some inspiration or some confusion within you may be cleared up. Notice if you're hearing discussions about mental illness, because that could be something that's going on. And Mars on this day is at the 29th degree of Cancer. This can be conflicts within the family. Maybe someone has a parent who is showing signs of dementia or Alzheimer's, and it's so hard. It may even be a lot of tears and crying or emotions. Neptune can be very emotional about whether to put mom or dad in a home. Could be something that people are dealing with. But Mars enters Leo at 9:20 p.m. Pacific time, and a decision has to be made. So the parent would be Mars and Leo. All of the kids, say there's 3 or 4 kids, they're Pluto and Aquarius. They're a powerful group that may have to take over control of mom or dad's ability to, Leo, take actions for their own self and drive and what have you. Like this could be taking the keys away from an elderly parent. The car is mercurial because Neptune and Aries, they're not thinking clearly, and they're very angry, Mars, because using their autonomy, their the ability to be the king or queen of their own life, because you're taking them the keys away. On Friday, the word of the day is THANTOS. The song in my head was Spaghetti from Cowboy Carter. And that's a Beyonce album. And it talks about THANTOS. You can listen to that song. It's a really cool song. But anyway, THANTOS was the son of Nyx, who is night, and its twin brother, Hypnos, which is sleep. It's not violent. It represents the peaceful, inevitable death, unlike the chaos of battle. And it's also often depicted as a winged, gentle figure that's carrying a blown out torch or a butterfly, symbolizing the soul leaving the body. So I don't know if someone famous is going to pass on this day, or this could be just about people within themselves. Maybe you've been having trouble sleeping because you're worried about whatever, and you decide, oh, I need to take a Tylenol PM or ask my doctor for a prescription because the night and coming to sleep is difficult. Or maybe you notice all of a sudden after having problems sleeping, you're sleeping better. So notice something. I feel like there's something about sleep related to this day. And the moon enters Capricorn at 7:11 a.m. Pacific time. The moon will square Neptune, so the collective can be having some kind of feeling of loss. And then it squares Mercury, and so maybe they're talking about it. And it could be about an elderly person. Capricorn rules the elderly or governments and big business. Someone could see a price increase for something they like to buy and be like, oh my God. They don't want to believe their eyes of what they're seeing. Neptune rules beliefs and Aries rules the eyes, but you have to face the facts. Mercury rules the facts. The cost of whatever it is you wanted to buy has jumped up by whatever percentage because of the impending tariffs. On Saturday, the word of the day is curveball. So something could be coming in surprisingly. The sun is at 29 degrees of Aries, trying to express all of that Aries energy. And with eclipse season, it could be somewhat intense. And then the sun enters Taurus. So there could be some kind of emergency that comes up unexpectedly that leads people to be worried about their survival. Aries has to do with that survival instinct. And then the sun goes into Taurus, and it's at 12:55 p.m. Pacific time, and it puts a spotlight on your resources. I'm having an emergency. What do I need to grab before I leave? I can just see myself, my building having a fire alarm, and I have to grab Debo and stuff to go stand outside until the fire department gets here and tells us everything is okay. But it could be someone dealing with a real fire because Mars in Leo is trine Neptune in Aries. They're both at 0 degrees, and Neptune is on a world point. 0 Aries is a world point. So there's a lot of news this week that's getting a lot of attention. We already know about the tariffs. There could have been conflict that came up somewhere. Maybe people are watching a sports game and there's energy to break boundaries. There could be like someone breaks some huge boundary that has never been done before. This also already happened in a hockey game. We've already seen Cory Booker break a record with the filibuster, and there could be more and more records broken as people are intensely focused on success or exceeding past what they've done before. And that's a theme of this whole Aries season. And with Neptune in a new sign, there are new mythic heroes arising all over the place. So that's it for this week's episode. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology in action stories, or let me know how the daily themes are playing out for you. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it. I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.